විෂය අංක 5 සභානායකතුමා.
කතානායකතුමනි අංක 5 යෝජනාව මම ඉදිරිපත් කරමි.
විෂය අංක 6 සභානායකතුමා.
කතානායකතුමනි අංක 6 යෝජනාව මම ඉදිරිපත් කරමි.
සභාව එකඟද?
ආයි.
විෂය අංක 7 සභානායකතුමා.
කතානායකතුමනි අංක 7 යෝජනාව මම ඉදිරිපත් කරමි.
සභාව එකඟද?
ආයි.
ශෝක ප්‍රකාශ යෝජනා ගරු අගමැතිතුමා.
Honorable Speaker, Her Majesty the Queen of Elizabeth, vote of condolence on the passing away of the Queen. I move that this Parliament resolves that Parliament, Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, pays its deepest sympathies to and conveys to His Majesty King Charles III and the royal family, the people of Great Britain, on the demise of world's immensely respected Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. President.
ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා.
Honorable Speaker, amongst all the letters of congratulation I received on becoming President, the one that was sent by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II was special. It would have been, if not her last letter of congratulation, one of her last letters of congratulation. Her Majesty has been very frail after the death of her husband, His Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. But no one expected a sudden passing away like this. 2 days before her death, we saw Her Majesty on television with her outgoing Prime Minister and the incoming Prime Minister. She looked a bit exhausted, but anyway, anyone who spends half a day with outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the incoming Prime Minister Liz Truss would have been exhausted, so that was nothing special. And then we heard of her passing away. The ceremonies are all over. But we have to grapple with the issue, what did Queen Elizabeth II mean to us, to Sri Lanka, the United Kingdom, to the Commonwealth, and to the world? As Queen of Ceylon, her reign signified the transformation of our country from Ceylon to Sri Lanka. The great political upheaval started under her. The 1956 election victory, the emergence of the ethnic issue, the coming of the free education generation, the state control of the economy, 2 coup d'etats against the governments, the start of the armed uprisings in the south. She is a person, Her Majesty, is a staunch Christian and held to her belief as the defender of the Anglican faith. But as Queen of Ceylon, she also upheld the commitment to safeguard Buddhism under the Kandyan Convention of 1815. In fact, a little known item is that Her Majesty presided over the Buddha Jayanti 2500 celebrations as the head of Ceylon, together with the kings of Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and the president of Burma, as Myanmar was then known. So, at the end of it, she also, when her term came to an end and we became a republic, there was also 2 issues that have been left behind, which has still not been unresolved. The conversion from a dominion of Ceylon into the unitary state of Sri Lanka, Republic of Sri Lanka, was the emergence of the ethnic issues which led in turn to uprisings, and still the last part of it has to be resolved. Secondly, it's an issue that was raised. If we want a figurehead, why don't we have the Queen? Why do you need a figurehead president? I remember the late Mr. Siriwardana, editor of the Atta, wrote editorial that we need not become a republic to become a socialist country. And then there was the issue that was raised by the then leader of the opposition, Honorable J.R. Jayawardena, supported by his chief whip Ranasinghe Premadasa, as to why we need a figurehead president. If we are to have a president, we should have an executive presidency on the model of France. Now this is also still unresolved question. Many have pledged and want elections to abolish it, but no one has done it. But in a sense, she represented not only the transformation of Sri Lanka, but also the transformation in the rest of the world. The transfer of power from West to Asia and Africa. The dismantling of the British Empire. And the UK joined Europe, then they have left Europe and is now redefining its role as global Britain. Queen Elizabeth II was different. From head of the British colonies, she became head of the Commonwealth of Nations. The transformation which represents her greatest success, bringing together the West and the rest. This Commonwealth of Nations saw some of the most outstanding leaders of our time get together with Her Majesty the Queen. Sir Winston Churchill, Dame Margaret Thatcher, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sir Robert Menzies, Pierre Trudeau, Lester Pearson, Nelson Mandela, Kenyatta, Kenneth Kaunda, Nyerere, Nkrumah, Lee Kuan Yew and Tunku Abdul Rahman were amongst others. In this transformation, Queen Elizabeth II became to us a symbol of stability, a symbol of adaptability. No other queen would have jumped off a helicopter with James Bond, and a symbol of duty. As a global icon, she outranked the UK, a nation which has now to charter its fortune without its greatest soft power asset, Queen Elizabeth, who was 100 times more powerful than the aircraft carrier named after her. It is to pay our respect to this global icon, which took many of us to the funeral service in Westminster Abbey. It was a very moving funeral service. The most poignant moment began when all of us in the Abbey, Christian or non-Christian, joined in to sing her favorite hymn, "The Lord is my shepherd." Goodness and mercy all my life shall surely follow me, and in the God's house forevermore my dwelling place shall be. Queen Elizabeth II is no more. Therefore I request, Honourable Speaker, and I am supporting the motion moved by the Honourable Prime Minister, to convey to His Majesty King Charles III and members of the royal family our condolences. I conclude this tribute to Queen Elizabeth II of Ceylon, the last of our royal line, which began with King Vijaya, with these verse: Anikka vatta sankarang, upadavaya dhammino, upaditva nirunjantu, te sam pipo suko. Impermanent are formations subject to rise and fall. Having risen, they cease. They are subsiding is bliss. Thank you.
Honourable Speaker, in joining the resolution of the vote of condolence, memory of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has certainly saddened the people of Sri Lanka, people of the Great Britain and across the world. While sharing our sincere grief the people of Sri Lanka offer our sincere gratitude for the remarkable life in service of faith and duty. We recognize this a time of profound personal loss for the British royal family, who are mourning a beloved mother, grandmother, and a great-grandmother. The Queen visited our shores on 3 occasions, mentioned by His Excellency the President. First time as a princess with Prince Philip on their honeymoon, and 2 other occasions later during the course of her 7-decade reign as Queen. She touched the people of Sri Lanka with sympathy and kindness whenever our people were afflicted by tragedy and disaster. Queen Elizabeth II was also head of the Commonwealth, and today Sri Lanka Parliament joins together with the extended Commonwealth Parliaments in sorrow and mourning of her loss. As mentioned by the President of Sri Lanka in presence paid his last respect to the Queen's final journey. And on September 18, Sri Lanka declared an official state of mourning in remembrance. At this time, on behalf of Parliament and all Sri Lankans, we convey our deepest condolences to the new King, the royal family, and the people of Britain. Like his mother before him, the King has a deep and lasting connection to Sri Lanka, a love of beautiful country, and hopefully a deep affection towards our people. May the Queen Elizabeth II rest in peace and achieve the supreme bliss of Nirvana. Thank you.
විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable President, Members of Parliament, we are all gathered here today to pay our tribute to Britain's longest reigning monarch, the late Queen Elizabeth II. She was the United Kingdom's longest reigning monarch and one of the longest reigning monarchs in all of recorded history. We pay tribute to Her Majesty not just for the longevity of her reign, not simply for the stability that she brought to her subjects and to her nation, not just for her graciousness and stature. Of course, we remember her for all these reasons, but also we recognize and acknowledge her unyielding passion for duty and her uncompromising dedication to the service of the United Kingdom and the monarchy. The tributes that have thus far been made in this chamber and beyond, from the White House in the United States to the parliaments of the Commonwealth of Nations, to the people across Great Britain, are undeniable testaments to the love the people had for their Queen, a reflection of the adoration and respect she inspired, thus an ultimate reflection of Her Majesty's own loyalty to the nation and the Crown. This chamber also pays its respects to Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on account of our status as a Commonwealth nation, as a nation state that is a member of the global community of nations, but also as a special acknowledgement of our shared history with the United Kingdom and its people. Whatever our political differences and history of confrontation, that resulted from the periods of colonization, we come together to acknowledge the grief. We understand that the people of Great Britain are mourning, and we do respect that in all sincerity. This chamber, our institutions, our laws, some of our political customs and political structures have all evolved from our British colonial past and beyond. As a former colony, we cannot deny a colonial hangover. This is a reality and should never be ignored nor forgotten. The oppression of peoples around the world at the hands of British imperialism is widely acknowledged. Those debates around republicanism within the UK and around the Commonwealth will only grow with the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. This in itself is a testament and a tribute to her reign and to her very being. While these debates may continue, and while I respect all those that have divergent opinions on the British monarch and its history of imperialism, I also acknowledge that the freedoms we possess to debate, to disagree, are foundational to the story of human emancipation. However, as human beings, we must all respect the grief of millions of people around the world, and particularly in the United Kingdom. Given Sri Lanka's history is itself forever intertwined with the history of the United Kingdom. At this particular juncture, please permit me to reflect on the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. We are all aware that the United Kingdom is a parliamentary constitutional monarchy. This means that despite all the pomp and pageantry surrounding the royal family, while the Queen would wear the crown, while King Charles III now wears the imperial crown, political power is wielded by others, usually far removed from the royal family. In many ways, that is what has ensured the survival of the British monarchy. Its distance to the power center, as well as its proximity to the nation's heart. Whatever else Queen Elizabeth II is remembered for, she will not be remembered for her political beliefs. She will never be defined by political ideology. For someone that existed as a head of state for over 70 years, we must acknowledge that this is an extraordinary achievement. To be perceived as politically neutral throughout a 70-year period defined by social and economic upheaval, revolution, war, and technological advancement, the real legacy of Queen Elizabeth II was that she always found herself above the fray. Rarely would she react or respond without considerable measure. She remained as disciplined a public servant as there has ever been, as perhaps there ever will be. Do remember that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom must update the Queen once a week with a private face-to-face audience. Her late Majesty had these weekly appointments with 14 different Prime Ministers over a 70-year period. While Queen Elizabeth II was in many ways a very young queen during her coronation, she had already had many years of preparation for her duties. One of the enduring personality traits confirmed by all those close to her was a sense of obligation to duty and service. Further evidence of this lies in her preparation for her meetings with prime ministers, her questions to them, her natural curiosity about the world beyond her own inner circle. We are all well aware that Sir Winston Churchill was her first Prime Minister. Prime Minister Churchill was also a friend of her father, George VI. There are stories of how Prime Minister Churchill was initially unsure about how a young queen would manage the British Empire and the prevailing pressures on the crown. I recall the footage of how Sir Winston Churchill joined the royal family, including King George VI and the future Queen Elizabeth II, on the royal balcony, waving to millions after the end of the World War II on the 8th of May 1945. Queen Elizabeth II was said to have been extremely impressed, even beguiled by the relationship her father, the king, had with his subjects, the love and the adoration